Hong Kong, the people of Hong Kong, ensuring the autonomy of Hong Kong.
President Donald Trump made China and Hong Kong a focus of his foreign policy agenda, drawing praise and support from Hong Kong's protesters.
其實唔單止係我啦，其實好多香港人咧，其實都係因為特朗普嗰個嘅對華嘅政策嘅強硬咧。
But is this just a marriage of convenience, or does the pro-democracy movement in the city have other things in common with the Trump administration?
Do you support Trump?
We would realize and also recognize how the existing administration really put pressure on China compared to the previous administration.
It's tough times here in the streets of Hong Kong for the city's pro-democracy movement. Activists have been jailed. A sweeping national security law is stifling dissent, and the city's pro-democracy lawmakers have resigned en masse to protest Beijing's interference.
Together we stand.
And now, Hong Kong's pro-democracy crowd are mourning the loss of someone they saw as a powerful ally in their fight, Donald Trump. The United States, and Trump specifically, was a common icon in the early days of the pro-democracy movement last year, as some protesters waved American flags and asked Trump to save Hong Kong. He was a world leader they saw as strong against China's ambitions in Hong Kong. And that's why some are mourning Trump's loss in the US presidential race, while others are pushing the kinds of conspiracy theories favored by the US president and his supporters back home. How is Trump, a man accused of subverting democracy in the United States, the favored world leader of Hong Kong's pro-democracy activists? Martin Lau is a pastor and a district councillor for Sundang in Hong Kong's New Territories. He ran on a pro-democracy ticket and is a vocal fan of outgoing US President Trump.
我諗香港政治又好簡單啦咁就係即係民主對建制啦所謂建制其實即係親中即係親中支持政府嘅嗱，我估香港嘅政治生態環境就係其實主要即係得個議題啫就係對中國嘅即係嘅立場。即係民主，即係民主，我哋咪係爭取自治啦。我哋想有普選，我哋希望香港嘅事務，我哋由翻能夠香港人去管理，而唔係由大陸去干預咯。咁當然到今年咧，就其實都見到，即係特朗普佢施政有四年啦姑勿論，即係你欣賞也好，或者批評也好，咁你見到佢一定嘅成果咁我。坦白講，如果我當然我係香港人啦，我冇權去投票啦咁但係如果我真係有票，即係我係美國嘅選民咧，其實2016年我都會投特朗普。
Martin Lau's political views are conservative by anyone's standards. He doesn't support same-sex marriage, detests political correctness, and shares much of the same politics as the US Republican Party. He admits this puts him at odds with many of his activist peers. But in today's Hong Kong, he says agreeing on China is enough to call someone an ally.
照咁睇嚟，你對於某啲議題，例如係同性婚姻或者係性取向性別認同等等議題，其實係同主流嘅泛民嘅立法會議員係有出入嘅，係咪咧？
嗱，事實上呢個問題就唔係我哋好常討論嘅問題嚟嘅咁即係之後講咧，其實因為呢個唔係我哋最關心嘅事情咁但係你話咧，即係如果真係去討論嘅話，咁我之後講咧，其實喺民主派裏邊咧，其實都幾多係受即係西方主流傳媒嘅嘅影響啦，或者喺方面文化係幾左傾嘅。
香港人支持即係特朗普對華政策。同埋喺呢度本地佢哋呢個傾，好似咁講傾咗嘅政治嘅思想，中間有冇矛盾？
咁但係香港就比較奇怪嘅，就係香港咧我哋話咧就係香港就一直咧都係對左翼嘅思想係有批判嘅。咁係主要係因為咩咧？就係譬如我哋話咧，香港咧就係好重視本土嘅。咁我覺得拜登執政嘅時候，咁我覺得首先就應該會緩和中美之間嘅關係嘅。 係啦，咁可能好即係放鬆咗啦，好多對華嘅即係制裁啊咁樣啦嚇。
But not all pro-democracy activists in Hong Kong are taking a side. Joshua Wong is the most visible face of the pro-democracy movement. In 2019, in the midst of the protests, Wong traveled to the United States to testify before Congress.
Beijing should not have it both ways, wrapping all the economic benefit of Hong Kong's standing in the world, while erosion of our freedom.
We spoke to Wong a few weeks before he was sentenced to 13.5 months in prison for an unauthorized assembly.
How would you describe the reaction within Hong Kong's pro-democracy movement to the US election results?
Since the protests in Hong Kong in 2019, Hong Kongers realized how US and the Western world foreign policy towards Beijing and Hong Kong really affects a lot of our protest movement in the local community. But no matter what happened, we still hope to emphasize that supporting Hong Kong is not the matter of left or right, it's the matter of right or wrong.
In the last few years, there have been bipartisan proposals regarding Hong Kong issues. But Hong Kong's pro-democracy movement seems to have credited President Donald Trump for much of those issues. Did you think that was a fair thing to do?
Frankly speaking, compare the reaction or the approach of the US administration during umbrella movement in 2014 under the leadership of President Obama. We realized how the existing administration put more and more attention to Hong Kong.
You've been criticized for not taking a sharp position when it comes to who should be the next US president. Why do you think people say things about you like that?
I don't think there's a lot of criticism I don't feel any concrete pressure to force me to take side in the US presidential election. Because even no matter Trump supporters or the haters of Trump in Hong Kong also realize that activists or politicians that could reach the global community would always need to make friends with both sides.
Your position sounds very even-handed to me. Do you think it represents most people within Hong Kong's pro-democracy movement?
Quite a number of Hong Kongers wish Trump could be elected again. And I think apart from the expectation on Trump is also the good impression towards Secretary Pompeo.
How would you respond to criticism that the protesters last year supported Trump?
Far-right netizens might criticize me interact with founder of Black Lives Matter. For far-left activists might criticize me shake hands with Republican senators. It's not easy to satisfy all people's demand or expectation. But instead of criticizing or blaming on any Hong Kong activists, I would say that as the politician, it's important for us to make friends with both sides.
Still, some active voices in the pro-democracy movement are looking forward to what a Biden White House means for Hong Kong.
America is strongest when it works with its allies.
Daniel Lee Tat Ning is the owner of the Hong Kong Reader Bookstore in Hong Kong, regularly hosting and selling works by pro-democracy thinkers in the city. Although he wants Hong Kongers to have greater freedoms and democracy, he doesn't believe Trump is offering a path to that future.
即係接觸大選初期，我會個人係比較傾向拜登，即係比較明顯傾向拜登。而原因可能係因為的而且確佢其實同對美國人一樣啦，佢最大支持嘅原因係佢係 mock Trump。
但係你覺得即係香港人如果支持特朗普，然後同時之間亦都忽略咗佢嘅一啲同民主或者自由相違背嘅行動嘅時候，又有冇話呢樣嘢係有個矛盾係好難解決咧？
我諗呢個都要牽涉到香港人對於或者係華文媒體啦，即係對呈現出嚟對於特朗普嘅言論。咁首先好多人會首先願意相信特朗普先。咁所以喺好多香港人嚟講咧，其實特朗普係一個可信嘅人。佢唔係一個冇道德嘅人。即係佢都會指出，民主黨喺 Donald Trump 上台之前，其實一直以嚟嘅政策都係同中國有好緊密發展一個緊密嘅經貿關係。咁而呢個路線如果持續，咁佢就會如果翻嗰個路線咧，就等於係所謂背棄香港啦，即係佢哋會覺得咁或者背棄一個反共嘅路線、反對中國嘅路線，同獨裁可協嘅路線。
你又有冇呢個憂慮咧？
我個人就比較少嘅，我個人唔係太憂心呢樣，因為我自己睇嘅點就係喺 Donald Trump 上，即係過去4年間美國對華政策開始強硬啦。咁究竟係個起點喺邊度？咁我觀察共和民主兩黨嘅民選議員嘅牽頭嘅作用，喺好多次嘅事件上都比 Donald Trump 牽頭更大咁啊！而呢一啲都會令我覺得美國對華政策嘅強硬咧係一個比較深入佢成個外交政策同埋國家政策嘅一個方向。
The city is starting to get to know what the Biden administration's Hong Kong policy might look like. President-elect Joe Biden picked Antony Blinken as Secretary of State, who previously said the US needs to take a stand on Beijing's crackdown in Hong Kong. What that looks like remains to be seen, but one thing we know for sure is that Hong Kong will be watching closely.